talk and those kind of things in here, but I do want to give you guys and present to you a message. And just like I said, we can call this a sermon, we can call it a conversation, we can say whatever we want to, but I want to talk to you guys this morning about something called a mess. Now, I don't know about you guys at all, but I'm going to have to tell you, and some people know me, my desk and things at work, I love to keep immaculate. My daughter can tell you, on my desk, I like to keep my stapler like right here and my papers right here. Everything has to be symmetrical and in shape, and I'm just like, I look very, very organized, right? But if you ever get in my car, you are going to be, yeah, exactly. I mean, how many of your cars are kind of, yeah, exactly. It's kind of, yeah, you stick to the seats as you get in, and those kind of things, and what have you. There's extra French fries in a bag that's been in the back for a long time. That's not good to eat, but if you're hungry, you'll do it. But, when I was growing up, my mother can say, she's here, but don't tell too much. I was kind of a messy guy. I really was. As a matter of fact, a lot of my stuff was messy. And if you would go into my room on any given occasion, the fact of the matter is it was a mess. My floor was a mess. My bed was a mess. My closet was a mess. Everything was a mess. And as long as I actually kept the door closed, as long as I kept things away from my family, everything was pretty kosher. But if they would see inside my room, and I don't think they wanted to venture inside my room very much, but if they would see inside my room, I would have gotten in trouble. Now, I kept the door closed for a lot of time, but I do remember one time my parents did come into my room, and of course, what did they say to me, and what did you say to me, Mother? You said, clean up your room. Now, other than the excuses of, well, why should I make my bed? How many of you guys ever said that to your parents growing up? Why do I want to make my bed? What's the answer? I'm going to what?
Sleep in it.
Sleep in it anyway, those kind of things. Besides, I told you so. They wanted me to clean up my room. And what would be the reason I needed to do that? Well, because if I didn't, I was going to get in trouble. I was going to lose some freedom. I was going to lose those things that I wanted to do. Now, here's what I learned as a kid. I learned that you can actually clean up your room a whole lot easier and a whole lot quicker if you take all of the stuff, all of the junk, and what do you think you can do with it? Shove it under your bed. Dude, my room, seriously, my room, my womb is empty. My room became very, very clean very quickly. Because I would take all the junk, all the mess, all the stuff, and I would shove it underneath my bed. And it looked pretty good. I could open up the door, my mom was like, man, this looks so good. I'm like, I know. Hello? Can I go somewhere and can I have $20? No, you can have 10. You always ask for more so you can get what you want, right? Exactly. Are you guys with me this morning? You sure? Okay. But here's the thing. I always lived with a fear that my mess was going to get found out. I was always living with this fear that they were going to open up the bed and see my mess. Now, they didn't do that for the longest time. And I could go anywhere I want. I could have all this freedom I want. Everything was going great. But I'll never forget, I got grounded because, and they can tell you the story, they opened up a drawer and opened up underneath the bed. And there was all kinds of stuff, some very bad things that were underneath there. And I got in some pretty big trouble. Every night, my room looked good. It really did. If stuff was picked up off the floor, but honestly, the mess was still there. It was hidden away. I slept on it. Underneath me, while I'm resting, was a mess. Now, why am I saying that? Well, growing up, I wonder why. Why didn't I just take the time? I mean this. I sat there and I thought about it. I'm like, why didn't I just take the time to clean up my mess and get it done? I think it was because I just wanted to have some freedom. I didn't want to take the time to clean it up right. I just wanted to go and live my life and hang with my friends and do whatever, we do when we're growing up. I didn't take the time to really get the mess cleaned up. And at the end, I was busted. At the end, I lost some freedom. And I learned a very, very valuable lesson. So why am I telling you guys that today? Well, here and over the next month here at TurningPoint Church, we're really going to be doing something. We're going to have like a no-nonsense conversation about the mess in our life. You know, we're in a new sermon, or I don't even like to call it a sermon. It's more of a teaching time. It's called A Mess of Things. And during our time, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the stuff that every one of us in this room have maybe pushed under our life into the recesses, into the dark areas. And we're going to talk about how to really pull those things out. Not that I'm going to have you come up and expose yourself in sins to everyone. That would be weird. But we're going to actually have, it would be weird, but we're going to have a time to really see what God has to say about some of the mess that we hide away in our life. Because here's the thing. How many of you guys, obviously we're older in here, you go to work every day. Do you know I see very, very sad people everywhere I go? Everywhere I go, I see sad people. I work downtown in the Mercer building on 4th Street. People come in there and their heads are hung low, but as soon as they go in their office, they snap into this fake person they hide everything in their life, they're hidden away. And they're dealing with it on a daily basis. But we all act like sometimes we have everything together. When the truth is, we're pretty messy people. All of us. And so over the next few weeks, here's what we're going to talk about. And I would invite some people. And obviously we'll want to grow. But what can you expect over the next few weeks? Here's what I want to do. I want to show you and paint a picture of where we're going. We're going to talk about the mess in our life. Some of it is this. We're going to talk about worry and depression. I'm going to be real honest. I worry a lot. And I have dealt, and I'm going to be straight with you. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect pastor. But I will tell you, I am just as human as you are. And I've struggled with this thing called depression. How many of you would be honest to say, because we're going to be an honest church, that you've struggled with something called depression in your life? Okay. The week after that, who's our worriers? You worry, okay. You worry about worrying, you know. And we're going to talk the week after that about personal addictions. There's a lot of things, when you think addictions, you're going to think, well, sometimes you think about alcohol or drugs. That's not necessarily all it is. There's some people who are addicted to being perfectionists. They can't let themselves, you know, they're addicted to the goal. They're addicted to work. They're addicted to achieving. They're addicted to all of these things, or materialistic things, because they feel no worth or value in their own life. And then the last week we're going to talk about, and this is a big one, anger and forgiveness. You know, there are people in our lives that if we're going to be followers of Jesus, that we're going to have to learn how to forgive. And we're going to have to learn how to let God kind of take that anger and push it down a little bit or get rid of it. But today we're going to learn about what God has to say about something that I think every one of us in here deals with. And I may preach and I may sit and I may do all these things. Are you cool with whatever I do in here? Will you guys talk to me? Is that okay? Yeah. If I ask you questions, can we have a conversation? Okay. We're going to talk today about something called the mess of guilt, the mess of shame, and the mess of regrets. You know, I've heard it say this, and I really had. I've heard people say that life is messy. How many of you would agree, truly, that you think life is messy? Tell me why you think life is messy. Let's talk about it just for a few minutes. We've got some time. Why do you think life is messy? Why is it? Can you share some of that with me? What's messy about life? Aaron's going to say something. I know you are.
I just think, you know, there's a lot of stuff happens. You know, there's a lot of problems that happen, a lot of just stuff. And, you know, we all have our own idea of the way things should go. You know, we have, whether we plot it out that way, but in our minds we think, hey, this is supposed to happen this way, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's not happening that way.
Yeah, you're playing, man. You think you're going this way, and you had it mapped out. And dude, it didn't go that way at all. Yeah, that's true. Why else do you think life is messy? Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure. Like pressure to do well at your job, pressure to fit in, pressure to, you know, to have the right boyfriend or girlfriend or friend or, you know, family.
Yeah, you know, we think that there was a lot of pressure when we were in high school or junior high school. There's even more pressure to achieve, to have the power, to have the position, to have the status, to have the things, to have the wealth, to have... And then some of us don't like it, so we rebel. And we're the rebels, you know, and there's this thing of doing, you know, we want to rebel against everything. So there's pressure all over. Peer pressure happens in the adult world too. You guys think that? I think that's a fact. Why else is life messy?
I think it's messy because we don't take care of our past mess, and then everything starts compiling and snowballing, and then all of a sudden you're like, where did it all come from? Well, it all started way back here because I didn't fix this to begin with. So
Yeah.
it kind of all caught up with me.
Yeah, it's the snowball. Yeah, yeah, all that stuff that you had before, if you don't fix it, it's like, have you ever heard of, everybody say this, if you tell one lie, you got to tell another one to get out of that lie, which you got to tell another one to get out of another one, and it's a snowball effect. Anybody else? Yeah.
There's so many choices that whatever you want, you make that choice, and sometimes it means it's a bad thing. Or I don't know the right word, but say, if you, I don't know the word, but if you touch a curly hair and then you keep wanting to touch it, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And I don't know what that word
I mean, I've never done that.
No.
I've never touched a curly hair. I keep
You
wanting to
want
do it.
something, but you know that you can't have it because
Oh, I see.
because it's wrong, but you keep
Being drawn to it.
wanting it and wanting it and wanting it, so then finally you give in, and then you have this whole big mess.
Yeah. I think you're right. And what's funny is you're my daughter, and it's almost like we planned this, but you gave a good answer at the end because I want to segue into something here because, we can say life is messy. And I agree with all of those things too, but I don't know so much if life is messy. I think life is just life. I think we people are messy. It's the choices that we made, or maybe some choices that other people have made, that's kind of made a mess in our life. Would you guys agree to that? Is that maybe it's not so much it's life, but maybe it's just the mess or the choices, like you said, that we made. I want to go back just for a second to my room. My room was just a room. My parents gave me my room, right? They gave me that to live in and all of those things. It was my choices that I made that made my room a mess. The room was just a space. It was just an area in which I existed, in which I lived. Life, in a sense, truly it's just God's area that He's given you, this space. From this moment that you're born to this moment that you die, here's this space, that little dash that you see on gravestones. But it's the choices that we make inside that space that can either leave us with this great, incredible life, or it can leave us with this mess. And I want to tell you something, to be brutally honest, most people make messes out of their life. It's fact. Most of us make a mess in our life at one time or another. Do you agree to that? I mean, most of us are messy. And brutally honest, I want to tell you, most of us are, generally all of us have made mistakes. Everybody has. I want to give you a scripture in the Old Testament. I like to call it old school. There's an old school scripture here in Psalms chapter 14, verse 3. If you're ever depressed or sad or worried or going anything, there's some great, great stuff in the book of Psalms. Listen to what it says. In Psalms 14:3, it says, all have turned aside. They have together become what? Talk with me, guys. They've together become corrupt. Thank you. There is no one who does what? Good, not even one. Now, God's not saying you're bad people. He's not saying, you know what, you're terrible people. You're making all these mistakes. He's just saying, you know what, nobody gets it right. There's this choice that we make in life. Sometimes we just don't get things right. No, and He's just saying, we're all on the same page. Nobody gets it right. But He doesn't beat us up for it. I mean, I have made some bad mistakes in my life. I've made some terrible mistakes. We've all done things, we've said things that are just messy. We've had negative consequences in our life because of the things that we've done. And how many of you have ever hurt somebody else? You made a mistake that you've hurt somebody else pretty deeply. And we're not very proud of them. Things that have left us raw. More specifically, I believe there are things that we all carry around called regret and guilt and shame. And maybe in this room, maybe you're here today, seriously, even in this small little group, and you still feel messy inside. Maybe there's something that you did 20 years ago, 10 years ago, yesterday, this morning. I don't know what it is, but there's something right now that you still carry on the inside of you that you wish if you could give anything that you could go and you could grab a hold of that clock and take the time and just pull it back so you could go back to that one moment where you could fix it. That one moment right before you were busted.